Hey, it's Stacy with Anxiety Detox. This week I want to ask you a question. What's on your plate? So we all kind of accumulate these tasks and jobs and things on our to-do list. And we get really busy doing the list, going through the motions. But today I want to talk about taking a moment to stop and ask, what is on your plate? A few years back, in a counselor training, a colleague was sharing this idea that she had learned at a training she had gone to. And it was super powerful, and I want to share that with you. So the question that she posed was, what is on your plate? And rather than just talk about it in a general way, we actually pulled out a plate, and she called me up to volunteer. And we talked about specifically what was on my plate. So at the time, I was working as a school counselor, and we had, meetings to attend, and we had, a lot of things to juggle, like paperwork and phone calls and that sort of thing. I had my own children, and, they were in basketball practice, and picking them up from school or taking them to places or practices. I had my husband, who I loved and wanted to take good care of and make sure that we were making time for each other. And I had, the bills at home to pay. So for each thing, we were just adding and adding and adding. Oh, and the dishes. And, by the time we finished filling up my plate, I looked at it and I could feel the overwhelm. I could feel how much I really was managing and doing. And, it's different looking at it in 3D. And so what we did after that was we talked about, okay, well, are there things on the plate that don't need to be there? Am I volunteering for things at work that aren't bringing me joy and aren't necessary? Is there anything like I could be more efficient with at home, or, in terms of maybe picking up the kids, can I partner up with somebody and take turns picking up each other's children? So looking at all these things, I realized too, there was this one thing on my plate, one thing on my list that I had a lot of negativity and disdain for, and that was the dishes. So looking at the plate, feeling overwhelmed with all my, colleagues looking at me, I did what I think a lot of us do when you kind of want to deflect that feeling and that attention. I made a joke. So I took the dishes off and I threw them across the room, just to be funny, but also because really that's how I felt about it. Sometimes we make a joke about how we really feel. And so I left there, and it was a great exercise. It was a good opportunity to kind of look at what all I have going on, to give myself some grace, to think about how I could reorganize and restructure. But that dishes thing kept just nagging at me. Why do I hate the dishes? I have to do the dishes. I should feel grateful that I have dishes, that I have food, that I have a home. And I felt worse and worse thinking about it. Like, what is it that I just can't get over that hump? And so after a couple of days, I realized the dishes were not something that I could take off of my plate, right? I could maybe get the kids to help me, but they were not going to go away. And so I started to think about them in a different way. What is it that I could do, that would make doing the dishes not so, not so stressful, not so overwhelming? And after a few days, it hit me. Something I really love that I don't do as much anymore, or wasn't doing as much at the time, was listening to music. And so I started to incorporate listening to music with my time doing the dishes. And it wasn't long before the dishes time became my favorite time of the day, because instead of trying to hurry up and get through them and feeling like I'm missing out on everything else that could be going on that would be fun and interesting in my life, it started to become my time, my special time, where I put on my music, not everybody else's request. And then I could just sort of get lost in my own world, and I could do the dishes, and before I knew it, they would be done. So it sounds like a magic ingredient, but it really isn't. And I attribute all of that, growth in my life and that gift to taking that time to really look at and study all the things on my plate. And so I encourage you to do that with the things that you have on your plate. What are the things that are on your plate that you're doing that maybe you don't need to do, maybe isn't necessary? What are the things that you could be doing more efficiently? Is there a shortcut? Is there a way to multitask? What are the things that are really just a grind that you really don't enjoy? Is there a way to infuse some joy? Is there a way to look at it differently? Is there a way to share that load, to share that burden? And then, what are the things that are bringing you joy? And can you put more of that on your plate? Can you add some more of those things to your life? So, get out your plates, make your list, figure out what those things are for you in your life, and then find a way to find little bits more joy and a little less burden by really taking some time to assess what's on your plate and what you want more of and what you can let go of. I hope that's helpful. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you next Thursday.